Sup YouTube, I'm Mage64 back on track with another video! So, when I streamed the never to be finished demo of my Miitopia hard mode mod, you guys liked it a lot. So for today's video, I've done even more not very legal stuff to the game we know and love, and went through the files of Miitopia to look for some useless but interesting facts about it. For today, I've got 7 facts. So be sure to hit like and subscribe, as well as share this video, channel, and my Instagram to those you love. And with that being said, let's go! Well, for this fact, allow me to tape you into a chair and take you through the code names of the job skills. You will probably find some of them at least interesting. Well, as I said, some of these names are probably kind of interesting, but I also assume that you're confused about some of them. And I am also very confused, but whatever. I personally think this fact is really interesting. It just goes to show that whoever at Nintendo, EAD, and Goodfield developed this game were very chill, and I take these words with a joking manner. I mean, gee, who could forget about the wonderful and useful skills of Love Call, Holy, Flower, Karma, Double, Seduce, oh no, that'd be bad word. And who could forget Fan? I can't, but I personally prefer Fan all a little more. You know how a job's max level is 50, and how the max friendship level is 99? Well, apparently jobs are also supposed to have their levels max out at 99. And conveniently enough, this is told to us through the Mage's Stats, which are unique for going past level 50, all the way to, you guessed it, level 99. Well, being a mage main myself ever since I touched this game's, by the way, nearly flawless demo, seeing as mage is the only job with these stats is kinda surprising to me. You know, I picked mage as my main since I like magic and am very much a sucker for wizards that are not Harry Potter. So now I may or may not have another reason to stay as a mage main. Although it's really not likely I would ever drop mage regardless of this fact's existence. On the topic of stats and mages, MP. You know, that stat we're forced into using but the enemies are not. Amazing stuff. Well, what if I told you that out of the 251 enemies of this game, 5 of them have MP stats? That's like 1.992031873% of all enemies. Isn't simple math great? Just kidding, I used a calculator. Those enemies are Snapper Paw, Glamorous Pharaoh, Triple Pop, Lion Snail, and a variation of the Forbidden one that references a seagull despite looking nothing like one at all. I mean, a peacock is fair enough, but a seagull looks nothing like a turkey nor a peacock. The weird thing is that all of these enemies have the same max MP stat of 33, with the one exception being the Glamorous Pharaoh, who for some reason has 30 MP instead of 33, and because of a fact that I'll bring up later in the video, only as a normal enemy, and not as a boss. But the fact that they even have MP stats is confusing since they don't even use their MP stats at all. Comment down below what you think is the reason behind the existence of monster MP stats. And for now, let's move on. So, you know how you can split music tracks between primary and secondary instruments? I hope you do since I don't trust myself to explain it, but it's sort of easy to understand by the name alone. Anyways, in my research, I found 2 tracks that were split like that in-game. Castle View and Eerie Road. Keep in mind that those are the only 2 tracks like this. Everything else is normal. So can somebody please explain to me why they did that? It probably just in theory takes up more space on the cartridge. But oh well, these 2 tracks are still good, so let's move on. Sometimes throughout the game, you encounter an enemy that is near identical to one you encountered prior, with the only difference being stats. The most notable example of that being the griffins next door having different stats than the one you fought at the end of Greenhorn. Right near the gateway to the next door, actually. Oh, that is an interesting theory. Let's check it out real quick. Anyways, the code of the game treats these near identical enemies as different enemies from each other, which when you think about it, actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, the enemies have different stats, and there's a reason the code also checks which journal number each enemy belongs to. So while the indicated number of enemies is 251, the actual number of enemies is way higher. This also explains our glamorous pharaoh thing from the MP fact, since the boss pharaoh is treated like a different enemy than the normal enemy glamorous pharaoh, and thus has completely different stats, and the lack of MP derives from that. In the land of Miitopia, there are 10 different locations to visit, excluding Traveler's Hub, and Miitopia's code describes each of these locations as their own worlds. Now, that is not the interesting thing. What is interesting, however, is that there are only 8 worlds instead of 10, so 2 worlds are missing. So then the questions come knocking. Where are the 2 missing locales, and which ones are they? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is both obvious and disappointing. Pecula and Nimbus are missing, and the code treats them as part of World 5, which means, yeah, it's not even Powdered Peak that's the world, but rather Traveler's Hub is a town of a world that consists of 3 separate worlds. I mean, come on, if the worlds are this tiny, why tease us all the way back in Greenhorn about Powdered Peaks, the smallest world in the game? It is tiny, and by that logic, what is even the point of Nimbus being the foundation ground of the skyscraper, which is its own world, alongside Otherworld, which I really don't count as its own world. And I just want to see more from these 3 worlds individually rather than one package being wrapped around by Traveler's Hub. Although this could have been done to save space, and that is pretty fair. But at that point, why even make these 3 worlds? Regardless, let's move on. And finally is the most useful fact of the video. So, background. Magic skills in Miitopia work by using a base power and a magic multiplier, with the base power determining its minimum numerical output and the magic multiplier determining how much of your magic stat will be used by the move. So, for instance, Tower of Flame. It has a base power of 80 and a magic multiplier of 0.8. I guess that's actually a good magic multiplier stat. So, Tower of Flame can do a minimum of 80 damage and uses 80% of Mage's magic. Now, the useless fact is that there are skills with a magic multiplier of 0 too. Those skills are Chef's Heals, except for Feast, Miracle Slap, and Angelic Voice. This means that they always heal, yes, heal, for a fixed amount of HP. Also, this means that Chef is practically a magic user and has the magic skill with the highest base power of all in 150, only barely beating Black Hole with 120 base power. And yes, that's broken. It's pretty interesting to see that fact, and it's kind of useless and obvious. But it's useless, so... well, that's it!